Okay, everyone is now muted. And I'd like to thank everyone again for jumping on the call this morning. We pray everyone is healthy, you're safe, you're feeling well, and you're not out in the weather. This is our second weekly update, and just want to remind everybody, our phrase we've been talking about during this period is that we are here for you. So welcome to the week of April 9th weekly update. Just a reminder, as we go through Zoom to keep the meeting moving well, we want to remind everybody to take an inquiry stance, meaning just take a stance of questions, just seeking information versus statements. Number two, make sure your statements are grounded in some evidence, not urban legends, but more so we have some data or some numbers to support. Assume positive intentions. Assume that we all are trying to help each other get through this, because that's the reality. People are doing that. Stick to the protocols, hear all voices. Well, you'll hear the speakers because you're muted. And we're going to work to start on time and end on time. And we ask that for the next 40, 50 minutes that you just be here present as much as possible. So with that, here's the agenda for the morning that we're going to be covering. I'd like to say at this time, I'm glad to be working with this gentleman, our superintendent, who's been helping us through this time period. And I'm going to turn it over to our superintendent, Mr. Jonathan Vasquez.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are safe. Your families are safe. It's nice to see all of you smiling and trying to get through this rough time as best as you can, as we all are, okay? But again, we have 1,316 people currently right now. Thank you, Will, for fixing the issues we had last week. And that's kind of the theme of our year. We have to fix things as they come up. Things will come up. We have to try and adjust as best as we can and then move on. Don't waste time thinking about how we wish we could have done it differently, because we're putting together a framework. We're doing the best that we can and expect that things are going to go wrong, and let's figure out a way to fix them. So thank you, Will, for getting everybody in so we don't have to iPhone people. So I want to start a little bit, just again, going over where I ended last week when I said, what were the district priorities? There's a lot of anxiety about what we're supposed to be doing. What are the expectations from the board, from the superintendent, from your principals, from the state? And I tried to break it down as simply as possible to allay kind of anxiety and concern. So let's start there again. Number one priority is keeping everybody safe through a pandemic. This is not a Los Nietos thing or a Whittier thing. This is a nationwide, worldwide pandemic. We're trying to keep the spread of COVID-19 coronavirus to a minimum in our neck of the woods, but also in the state of California. LA has a huge breakout of coronavirus, people testing positive as New York. So we're kind of the hub and we're right in the middle of it. So number one, we want to keep kids safe. We want to keep our staff safe. We want to limit access. And again, as we get close to the putting packets together, because putting packets together every 2 weeks and trying to get them out to kids who don't have online capabilities, we're going to have to do that. So we have to figure out a way, how do we limit people coming on campus and doing that? Some people were very good at, using their online tools, PDFing things, sending it to the principals for them to print out. We want to continue to do that as much as possible. Some of you couldn't. Some of the SPED teachers really needed to get some of their resources. So if you have to come on campus, we want to adhere to the safety rules. Number one, make sure you're in a mask. That is now a countywide order from the health department, that if you're going to be out and about, you have to wear a mask. I live in Riverside County, and they made that recommendation last Sunday to all residents in Riverside County. So you have to go out with a face covering, either a bandana, a mask, something. And that now is also an LA County thing as well. If you're going to be out and about, it's only essential things that you need to go to. Kelly told me that her husband was kind of stopped by an LA County sheriff this week, wanted to know why he was on the road, and he had to show his credentials, to say that, here's the reason I have to be out on the road. So sheriff really is looking at people being on the road. They don't want anyone there. So that's why we're trying to limit as much as possible. And we're trying to communicate that to our staff and our parents the best we can. So I've been trying to do a weekly written update as well as a weekly phone message just to let people know. So number one priority, keep staff and students safe. Number two, again, as I mentioned, 100% of our kids receive breakfast and lunch, 85% qualify outright due to parent incomes. And when I was passing out food this week, I saw people in line who I know have jobs and who are doing well in the line to get food for their kids. So I would imagine the next week or two, we're going to see a spike in parents coming to get breakfast and lunch. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I need your help to get the word out when breakfast and lunch is due. But I imagine that the number is going to go really high. And if it doesn't, it should, because 85% of our families qualify outright. And the other folks are losing jobs or on unemployment. They need to know this is a resource for them and their kids. So we need to make sure we let people know about the food distribution. Second, last week I said we were going to prepare staff to implement a distance learning model and to break it down, just learning by distance, not from the school. Yesterday, if you had the opportunity to view the optional meeting that we had at 2:30, the intent was to show, here's all of the resources that have been compiled by the TOSAs, by the text, by Will, to have a one-stop shopping for you. There's lots of things that you could be looking for, but we try to put as much as possible into one distance learning tab that we'll talk about. As you find out more information, get in contact with the TOSAs, get in contact with Will and say, I found this website or I found this video. I think this would really be helpful, and we can put it on there. We want to have one-stop shopping for our staff, so you don't have to be running around looking for resources, okay? So again, the base model for our extended learning program is the learning packets. And then as we start implementing a district learning model, there's different types of resources for our kids and ostensibly for the families too. So I know a lot of parents are pulling their hair out trying to figure out how they're supposed to teach their kids. And so there's a lot of resources on there that PBS is offering that is instructional in nature that we want parents and students to be aware of, okay? If I had my druthers about me, I would put another icon there because I will for next year, or excuse me, next week. The thing that I wanted to add there was being cognizant of the financial situation that the state and the country is in, okay? So from last week to this week, that's really kind of where we are. I said, by and large, the federal government and the state government has said if you are a certificated or classified person and you're out of work because of the COVID-19, you know, as long as you're working at home, we'll continue to cover your pay, okay? Things are getting tighter and tighter, and we are preparing for a really significant kind of budget crunch coming up. It was great that Jerry Brown left this nest egg for Gavin Newsom, but he left the nest egg for things specifically like this. And so as that gets spent down, we anticipate cuts from the state government coming down to us. So as we're trying to be cognizant of the things we need to put in parents' hands and kids' hands to do distance learning and try and help support our teachers, the cloud over my shoulder and my friend Doug, who is not here with us, but will be in future meetings, that is dealing with is just really being aware of what are the federal restrictions and the state restrictions as everyone balances out the impact of COVID-19. Unemployment is going through the roof. And right now, state and federal are helping to support that. But at a certain point, it's going to hit the schools, okay? So I need to be prepared for that. You need to be aware of that. And that's something I want to be honest with you about. So again, district priorities: keep students safe, continue feeding our kids, prepare and implement the distance learning model, and also monitor closely any state and or federal issues that come up that will impact us as a budget. If you look at our district priorities for the year, number one was being aware of the physical crunch that we were in, being aware that we are losing kids at a huge rate. I don't know what it's going to be like when kids, if and when kids come back. You know, our numbers on a good day are just above 1,500. So when we open up schools and we're open for business, I don't know what that number will be, okay? So it may not impact us significantly next year with the funding that we get, because we're based on our ADA from the previous year, but it definitely will impact us for the 21, 22 school year, and I have to be prepared for that. Okay, so I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I also want to be honest with you, so that you're at least aware and cognizant of the things that I'm working with. That was there prior to COVID-19. These are issues that were prior to COVID-19, but definitely now it's, I'm trying to spin plates. So I got lots of different things that I'm trying to spin, and it's a concern. So I will put another icon there. But again, the key is, what are the ramifications of all of this money that the state is giving? What are the ramifications of the unemployment? How is that going to, adjust to us? Because again, they extended when you had to file your taxes. So usually we have a good idea by April when, how much money we're going to get as a state and to the school because they've collected it. Well, they've extended it further, so we don't know. So it's hard for me to project. Okay. So again, the outcomes of all of that through this scary time is to maintain instructional continuity as much as possible through our learning packets, through augmented distance learning. Second, to manage staff, student, and parent anxiety. The only way I can do that is to be honest with you. So again, a meeting like this that goes on a weekly basis is just, here are the updates that I'm aware of, here, so that you guys can plan, because I think that's important that you at least know, Jonathan, let me know if anything's coming up so that I can plan for myself and my family. Right now we're okay. But again, as you've known from all of these meetings and recommendations I've been making, things change on a daily basis, definitely on a weekly basis. And lastly, just try and reassure folks that none of us has been through this before. I'm very proud, I'm very pleased, I'm very relieved, excited the way that we've addressed it and how we're trying to meet the needs of the families and our kids and try to meet the needs of our staff. And we'll get through this. Again, it's not anything that anyone had on our to-do list this year. It's not how I wanted to end the school year, but it's where we are right now. And I just want to thank you before I move on for everyone who's really done their best to help us through this time. So I want to talk a little bit about, where we started. Where is COVID-19? How is this affecting me? As I mentioned before on my March 11th board update, to say, here are all the things we're doing to prepare ourselves for the outbreak and make sure that rooms are sanitized. Only 27 cases in LA County, only 1 death, none in Whittier reported. Last week I said, okay, we're up to 3,500 cases in LA County, 38 deaths. Previously, there was no cases in Los Nietos or the West Whittier area where we work. There were 14 in Whittier and 8 in South Whittier. As of yesterday, every day at 12 noon, the Department of Public Health has a website and they update their statistics. So this was as of yesterday. As of yesterday, 7,500 cases in LA County. So since we last met, it's doubled, more than doubled, 198 deaths. There are now 10 cases. Yesterday, there were only 2 when I checked it. And when they updated it, now there's 10 cases in Los Nietos, West Whittier area, 32 cases in Whittier, 22 cases in South Whittier. So all of the things that we are doing to try and keep people out of the schools is the appropriate thing to do. We're following the recommendations of the governor, which is to stay at home order, following the directions of the state superintendent who's recommending school closure, and LACO superintendent last week, 2 weeks ago, last Friday, mentioned, she's wanted to close the schools for the remainder of the school year, and that's kind of where we're headed. So next Wednesday, I have my first online school board meeting where people will be doing it over the phone. The board will take action to approve my recommendation to dismiss kids for the rest of the year. I was going to do it unilaterally under the board policies that I have, but I really wanted the board to kind of weigh in, and again, they are unanimously in support of doing whatever is necessary to keep everyone safe. But we have not met since, I think, March, because everything has been happening so fast. So this is our first meeting that we're going to be having over the phone. So by next Friday, the 17th, where would we be? Definitely, I'll make the notification about school closure, and I'm working with Presidio. It'll probably be in a newsletter format, maybe a video that's attached, so that I can directly talk to the community. Some of our students will have Chromebooks in their hands. Again, we'll talk about it, but the push in our district was one-to-one devices in kids' hands, which Third through 8, every kid does. K through 2 has access. K through 1, TK through 1 have access to like 3 or 4 to 1 with their iPads. But we were not in a position to go online learning, sending home Chromebooks. So having Chromebooks and having no bags to put them in makes no sense, because there's a higher propensity that they're going to get broken. So we had to wait, and now everyone's ordering computer bags as well. So that's the kind of information when parents ask you on Dojo, like, where's my stuff? When is this going to happen? We're in the process. We're trying to get it as quickly as we can. There is plus and minuses to move faster, plus and minuses to grind to a halt, okay? Every 1,100 school districts in the state of California are doing things their own way. I think the way we're doing it is what the State Department intends it for us to do. Continue, extend the learning opportunities, do more, and keep trying to do your best. So I think our best is trying to put Chromebooks in the hands of kids, but a lot of our kids will not have access points, and we can point those students in the direction of how to get have their parents sign up for Verizon, T-Mobile, who's offering free internet service. But that's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a donut hole in our distance learning program. How do we help support those kids? So we start with, who are the kids who have access? How can we put information into their hands and Chromebooks into their hands? And lastly, as of yesterday, the distance learning tab went live. So much resources on there. And it's kind of like if you go Google searching on the internet, you can get lost. I really recommend people going on there and just getting lost and seeing all the information that is there as you try and put your own head together. If I'm going to do a distance learning packet, how do I then support and augment with some of the things that are on there? And we'll be talking about that shortly. Next slide. So the power of routines. We are getting close to where things are not, how do we do this? What does this look like? We're trying to be as consistent and uniform as possible, simply because parents are talking to each other and want to know, why did this school passing out a Chromebook and this one hasn't, or why is this one using Google Classroom and this one's not, okay? But we're getting close to having routines, having daily schedules for the kids, you understanding what it's like to work at home. And the importance of that is just to have continuity. I think if you get up, as many of us do, and say, what time is it? And if you don't know what you're specifically planning, the days go together, okay? But for kids, 100%, their days are blurring. For parents who are with their kids, who may be at home, they're blurring, they're looking for a lifeline. And when we throw them a lifeline, it may be too much information for them to grasp, okay? So again, as you are working on your schedules, we're trying to get each school site's schedules together so that we can make a one unified calendar. There's PD that we want to offer to teachers, but we have to make sure that we don't have it on days when there's already things set up. And if we do have to say, listen, the district has to nationalize these particular dates, we need for you guys to be aware of it. How much time do you need to move your dates so that we can offer PD for the majority of the staff members? Additionally, for our kids, again, 9 to 10:30 Mondays and Wednesdays at only 2 schools now. Last week it was all 4. We're moving to 2 schools, the middle school and Rancho. Any student can go to any one of those schools to pick up their food. It was raining this week. A lot of parents were coming out, but we need your help in just reinforcing that free food is available to the kids. We gave out as little as 1 to as many as 10. And I'm not checking people's status by and large. If people come and they're looking for food and we know who they are, we're giving them the food, okay? So please encourage your families through your Zoom conversations, your class dojo, that 9 to 10:30 is when we're passing out food. And kind of lastly, we want to publicize the fact that you're meeting with your kids, okay? If we don't publicize that we're doing that and do not have a specific protocol to do that, people assume we're not doing anything, and you are doing a lot, and you have done a lot, and you are helping our kids with continuity. And I see it individually on classroom dojo sites and school dojo sites, but I'd like to be able to curate that a little bit, use the tagline that we're trying to use about, we care about you, we're here for you, you know, just to get that out. Los Angeles School District did that anyway, but even more so, the community, people need to know that's what separates us from other districts, okay? So again, as we get with the power of routines, I'm asking for your principals when they meet with you. Can I get your schedules? Can we see where there's gaps where we can put things in? So as they ask you for it, know that the reason and the rationale for it is so that I can plan for meetings. I don't have to meet at 11. There are some people who can't make it and say, can you move it? But if I move it, it causes problems with other people. So the intent is, how can we do things that have as little disruption as possible? But for a small district like ours, every action has a lot of reactions, especially now that we're working at home. So thank you again for working with your principals. But as I start tightening things up and just saying, can you turn your things into your principals so we can see? The intent is A, to verify that you're meeting with your kids, which the state is requiring us to do. And B, so that we can see when during the week is it a good time to schedule professional development trainings for all of the staff in the district, okay? So as I mentioned before, we're going to be working with Presidio, who we've been very instrumental through this time, just trying to communicate with our parents, just trying to select times when you're meeting with your students, to get a screenshot of kids on your screen with you doing your job and extending the learning, and just the tagline, we are here for you, and just doing a quick post, okay? Those are the types of things that go viral that we want our community to see. If you check the Facebook page, we have a lot of people following Facebook, close to 1,400 people, and we have like 1,500 in the district. So for us, that's a lot, because I think we're putting a lot of good content on there. So we are trying to get announcements out and trying to ensure that if we have something that's really going good, that we are able to connect with Presidio and make sure that there is a way to record that and push it out, not only for people in the community, but also for just the staff. We have a tab that we're trying to identify teachers who are found out good ideas or did something they want to share, because really that's how the growth rate of our learning at this point is going to go off exponentially. If someone has a good idea and shares it quickly, then we can all do good things. And that's really the intent of education, the intent of what we've always been trying to do. Here's an opportunity for us to do that, okay? With regards to the mills that we have served, here is kind of what we're looking at. We have 1,500 kids. And again, 85% of our kids qualify outright. And we have been making good progress. But again, I don't want kids to go hungry because for whatever reason, they don't know. And again, we had a good turnout at the middle school, which is the middle school and all the and Aeolian and Nelson. This was this last Wednesday. And Rancho has about 350 kids. So almost all of Rancho's kids got fed. We are moving up incrementally, but I would like next week as much as possible to get the word out that between 9 and 10:30, Rancho in the middle school, any student can come and get their grab and go meals. On Mondays, we offer food, breakfast and lunch for Monday and Tuesday. And on Wednesdays, we offer breakfast and lunch for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So they're big bags of food, milk, fruits and vegetables, and sandwiches. Our cafeteria staff has done a great job providing it. And again, I would rather pass out more food than say, okay, we're saving money because people aren't coming in, because I know they need it. So whatever you can do to help us spread the word, I really want you to do that, please. In kind of closing, I have a friend who's a teacher, who is a teacher of the year in Utah, and she sent this to me because she knew I was going to be talking to the staff today. And she said, here's something that I use, I'm trying to do. She's a special ed Spanish teacher, which is quite a trick. Number one, thank you all for your hard work. incredibly difficult times. I am enough of a realist to understand I can't reach every child, but I am more of an optimist to get up every morning and try. And I think that really speaks to all of us. Really difficult times. It's hard to learn new skills on a good day, let alone at home, let alone trying to get information like the telephone game, passing it from one person to the next person. So that's why going to the staff meetings are imperative to go. But, again, we are all enough of realists that, we're doing the best that we can, and even our best, we can't reach everybody, but we are all optimists that if we get up every morning, we're going to try and do our best. So again, thank you for that. As Will goes into the distance learning, again, it's a lot of information, but you have all stepped up, and I'm nothing more than pleased that I work in this district and I have the pleasure, the ability to lead this district because you guys have all stepped up and made my job much, much easier. So I'll turn it over to Will.
Okay. Bear with me. Jonathan, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, life happens, and it just did with technology. All right, let's see here, let me move forward. All right, good morning, everyone. Just share some updates on the distance learning. We're not gonna go into all the details of last week. As the superintendent said, we do have the website up on the district website under district learning tab. So real quickly, want to address something that has been running around in some truth, some urban legend about Zoom. So Zoom is not the devil, as some folks have equated to. There are security issues that have happened with Zoom, but it wasn't just Zoom. There's been stuff happening with Google Hangouts, any of these online vehicles. They all were experiencing something over the past month. Zoom happened to get the biggest publicity. And so Zoom, along with Google Hangout, Google Meet, has been making changes over the past 3 weeks to its security. Attending class at USC, there was that Zoom bombing, the new term, where somebody did break into a professor's class and took over. But since then, they've made several changes for security procedures. And so we know we had a couple of situations take place here in the district last week. And as we do investigation, it looks like it's more of the kids, our kids who are doing the disruptive behavior. And so what we want to do is do more training with you. So how you go into Zoom, how do you set those security settings so that you as the adult have control so that people cannot interrupt your Zoom or do malicious things. So real quickly, just a graphic. Number one, you always want to set up your Zoom call with a unique ID. Number two, you want to require a password. And that password we're recommending to staff is you don't make this public to folks, that you only make the password available in, say, Google Classroom. Do not put it out on social media, Class Dojo. Unique ID can be out there, but not the password itself. Then Zoom has made it a mandate where it creates a waiting room. So just as you all today, you didn't get in here automatically. I had to click 126 times to let you in. And when I do that click, it shows your name. So as the host, you get to kind of screen who's coming into the calls. And you can at the same time boot people out based on behavior. One of the things we'll work on training folks is how you should be the main person sharing, that you don't enable other people to share, which is really important, teachers, as we deal with our students, that there's a security setting that you can go turn off sharing for the participants, the students, so they can't take over while you're teaching class. Fifth, create an invite-only meeting. So in the settings, just the people who get invited can come in. Number 6, lock a meeting once it started. So this morning, I did not lock the meeting because as I anticipated, people would be getting in later. So some people got in like around 11:20, 11:25. But if you have a class, you can lock that meeting after whatever start time so no one else can get into the room. You can also kick individuals out for inappropriate behavior. And so on the tab under participants, you could actually remove somebody individually without having to shut everything down, just being cognizant of, you know, who is the person, so you can do that appropriately. You have the ability to disable cameras. So a lot of people, they hide their picture. They don't turn the audio on, the video, but you also have that control to turn off the video, especially if you see some content going on that's not appropriate. And in the settings, you can prevent them from sharing animated GIFs. So like Spider-Man, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, you say no, 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 by turning off that GIF and other files for exchange. And last but not least, you can disable private chats so that people aren't able to chat, other students can't chat with each other while you are conducting your meeting or your classroom. So this is Zoom settings. I know Principal Space emailed it out to folks or on her staff, and we'll get more of this out to you as we do more trainings for everyone so they know how to do this. Okay, distance learning. Thank you for allowing me to attend some of your staff meetings virtually this week. Pop in real quickly, and I know the #1 question is Chromebook, Chromebook, Chromebook. As you can see here, Mother Nature has not been accommodating for having people in the parking lot picking up Chromebooks. So with social distancing and just trying to respect everybody's health, you know, we didn't do it this week, along with a backup in the cases. But I am happy to report that on Tuesday, we will begin the rollout of Chromebooks here at the district office. We will not be doing Chromebook distribution from sites. So please let your parents know if they're asking. Christina Varela, Lorena Cervantes, and Juvenal Martinez are calling parents and scheduling their appointments based on the survey. So as of last night, we had over 1,000 entries on our surveys. Out of that 1,000, we had roughly about 550 parents who said their child needs a device. Next week, our goal is to disseminate around approximately 540 Chromebooks, starting out with 1 per house, because that's what we have cleaned and sanitized, ready to go. And then we will continue with the second round, where we'll talk about the iPads as well as devices for instructional assistants who are working with kids. Okay, so this is a distance learning device distribution plan. And let me go one more step into it. Just so you know, if parents are asking, you gotta complete the survey. That's how we got the information, because it tells us also, helps us prioritize. If they don't have internet, that's not something we can deal with right off the top. We're trying to get out the equipment to people who can work with it right away, who have at least internet, and then give us some time to work with those people individually, because we know we have different situations. Hotels, motels, Salvation Army, various things that are unique that require us to take more time. So we want to get the masses out first, and then come back and work in the smaller populations. Device preps, I want to thank the techs, thank Leah, thank our ladies who've been coming in, who've been working with the food as well as working with the inventory. They've been cleaning with the masks, the gloves, and they got a little high for a second because all the cleaning that hadn't been done in several years. They've done a wonderful job. And so, like I said, we have about 540 devices, almost 500 devices ready right now because of the efforts they've been putting in over the past week. I also want to thank the maintenance department and Ralph there, getting the carts and getting that stuff in so that we can get the stuff turned out to students. Next week, because of the rain, we didn't do it today, but next week we'll be taking apart Rancho, their carts, because we have some new Chromebooks coming in May. And since we won't be coming back to school, we want to get another set of devices out in the next round. So we'll be taking those old devices out of Rancho and using those for distribution. So I talked about the confirmation calls, and you can see the first round distribution is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. And then because Monday's a holiday, we're not doing Monday, but the second round will happen the next week, okay? So that's the distribution plan there. One of the things you should know as staff we've been working on, so we're just not giving a device out there that's not having some kind of layer of protection. Some of the time that was invested was making sure every Chromebook went out with a content filter and some kind of monitoring. So the Los Nietos Middle School staff on March 2nd at our PD participated in a showcase between two vendors, looking at how can you manage what's going on the Chromebook to know what kids are doing. And so the selection was they selected Go Guardian. So Go Guardian's being pushed out on all these devices. They have them already. Even our existing fleet that's staying here at the school, the brand new ones. And so we have content filtering to kind of help minimize the inappropriate sites that they can go to that maybe the parents aren't seeing. Is not 100%, but it's some level of deterrent. The second thing is Go Guardian, when the devices, when we go back to physically being in the classrooms, it's going to allow you, the instructional staff, to monitor what they're doing on the device without having to stand behind every single person. And so that's the other great feature. The third feature, which we'll talk more about, not today, especially right about now when people's stress level is really high and they don't have you to talk to at a whim, how do we detect inappropriate searches around suicide? So our kids who are kind of isolated, if they're going to certain sites and doing certain things, that software that we've installed on these Chromebooks will send us an alert. And we'll notify the principal, we'll notify Raymond, and potentially notify the superintendent so that we can respond and get that information out to parents. So that's part of the we've been doing, just so that we can make sure that, one, we can get the devices back, two, the students have what they need, but we also have some level of monitoring so we can make sure our kids remain safe.
One piece I would add to that, Will, for people and for teachers, if your parents are asking, you know, where is it? Can we just have it? I need your help. There are so many different things that we need to do. It's not just putting it in the hands, you know, because again, if they start chatting with someone, if they get on a website they're not supposed to, then we're liable for that. So we have to weigh, again, trying to just move as quickly as we can to help the learning process, coupled with what are the dangers that kids could get into, you know. So whatever you can do as people ask you, you know, the district is working on it. They want to make sure that there's a good systemic way of distributing, that they have filters on it for the kids, and we'll get to you as soon as possible. That carries a lot more weight than maybe from me or from Will, who we don't have in touch physically or personally. They believe in you. They believe in what you're telling them. So if you can, after you're hearing what Will is saying, reinforce that with your parents, that would help us out a lot, because we're getting calls as well as you. I thought we were supposed to get them. When can I get mine? Without, and we don't have the time to kind of go over in depth the rationale like we're doing with you.
Thank you for that. All right, so a couple of meetings I've attended and yesterday's phone call. Emails, you know, I want my students' emails so I can work with them on their emails and their passwords. As of this morning, the techs working with Danny get that together. So principals do have that now. They have uh-oh, somebody just got in, let me mute that one. Every principal, check with your principal after the call that you can get your stack of emails for your kids. So I want to thank the techs for staying up late. They weren't in, I mean, they've been having their health issues with family and they've still been working from home. So I really thank them, thank Danny. Appreciate you guys turning that around and getting that done, okay? All right, as the superintendent mentioned, this is now live on the district website. I want to thank the TOSAs for helping just modify, clean up, make it user-friendly. If you have not gone on there, please take a moment. Go to the district website, Distant Learning tab, and then click on that distance learning, it'll take you right in here. And so, like we shared yesterday, if you weren't on a call, we'll try and get the recording up as soon as possible. Under staff resources, please, I've been getting some emails from staff members who are using their personal Gmail account. Use your district Gmail account. You cannot go into the staff. I won't give you access to the staff from a personal Gmail. And so our students can't get access to it, our parents get access to it. We're asking, use your district email so that when you go in, you can see all the resources that we have there for you. Anything under parents, wide open for them to see. Doesn't matter what email account, Yahoo email, AOL, whoever's, they can use whatever. It's wide open. But the staff, this is just for internal, for our privacy purposes to share information. Distance learning. We'll move quickly here because I want to make sure people have a few minutes for questions at the end, if necessary. We've been talking, admin team, principals been getting feedback and comments from you all. We said, okay, this was the process. What do we do around student work? Next week, we'll talk more with an update, provided the state gives us a little bit more. What's going to be our student grading policy? The state has only said provide feedback. And the biggest thing is that kids' grades can't drop during this time. That's what the state has said. And so I've heard a couple of districts who, I'm afraid for them, have talked about possibly having kids' grades lowered during this time period. That's a direct violation from what the state superintendent is saying to do. It can be a pass or help them improve a grade, but it can't lower their grade during this time period. So as students turn in work, the principals are collecting that, they're separating, isolating, and it's going to stay for 3 to 5 days. That's more than enough time. If there's any virus on the paper, it will subside. And then teachers will, principals disseminate that back to you teachers. And we're asking you to provide some feedback. It doesn't have to be a letter grade, but just something that lets that student know that, one, you're looking at it, and that two, they can't just turn in crap, or else they're going to start checking out as we move into the month of May. So the idea is to give them some feedback, to let them know somebody's looking, and keep that level of motivation up for their cognitive development. With that, I will turn it over now to Mr. Raymond Tan to talk about special ed.
Okay, thank you. Well, okay, if we can go to the next. Okay. All right, so I just want to give you guys some updates about what's happening and the directions that we're taking. I do want to first say thank you everyone for your hard work. I know that all of you are working really diligently trying to support our students. And so I want to commend you on that. With that being said, I do want to reiterate that during this unprecedented times, what we can do is to provide what's appropriate for our students in light of the school dismissal and available resources that we have. Okay, so I just want to give you a summary of what's been happening, some relevant information that I want to share with you guys. What is the delivery of related services will look like, and the next step that we're going to take. So let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so as you guys know, I'm on a lot of phone calls, Zoom meetings with LACO, with WOCSEP, with other districts, trying to get the most updated information regarding how do we provide special education services during school dismissal. So all the districts have a lot of questions. For example, you know, do we do ESY? What is that going to look like? What about, you know, CalPADS reporting and SAYS? Do we continue to do that? As of now, CDE has not yet released any official guidance, but we are waiting on CDE to give us official guidance on a lot of questions that every district have. And once I have the information, I will share that with you. And also keep in mind that as of right now, there's no specific language in the ED code that is related to distance learning. So basically the directives that was given to us from CDE is do your best based on what we have. So I do want to remind you, this is, you know, what we can work with for the time being until I get further information, which I will share with you guys as soon as I get the information. Okay. So the next page will be, okay. So I just want to share with you guys that Lorena and Christina have been making phone calls to all the special education parents. And the purpose of the phone call is just, you know, check in with the parents. How are they doing? How are the kids doing? Are they connected with the school staff? Are they connected with the teachers, the principals? Do they know about the food that we're distributing? You know, so just things like that. What are the resources and referrals that they need? And just, you know, try to give them that sense of normalcy, so to speak. So they've been doing a great job with that. And based on the feedback, I can tell you that most parents are very appreciative of the phone calls, and they all have a lot of good things to say about the teachers and the principals. And, you know, they're connected and they do want to remain connected, and they do want to reach out to the parents. So that's really very positive from the feedback that we've gotten. Also, there may be some follow-up items that needs to be followed up by me, the district office, or the school site. So based on the information that parents are given to us, either Christina and I will give that information out to you so that if it's appropriate for the school site or the teachers to follow up, and you will be notified. And if it's something that's appropriate for me to follow up, then I will definitely do the follow-up with parents as well. Okay. With regards to stays, I know that previously I sent a email to all the case managers, just letting you guys know that as of right now, since we haven't gotten any directives from CDE, we're still required to submit the CalPAS report. So in order for the CalPAS report to be submitted, we have to be certified through WOCSAT. And before WOCSAT can certify that, we have to be error-free. So I do want to ask you guys to please periodically log into your SAYS account and just fix the errors that are there. Because remember that before the school dismissal, we still have our IEPs. So we're still in the process of trying to certify the IEPs that was held prior to the school dismissal. Okay, so please make an effort at least once a week just to check what kind of errors there are. If you're not sure how to fix the errors, you can always email me. And if I don't know, I will get the answers for you from WOCSAT. Okay, and I know some of you have asked about what the service log would look like. If you tune in last week, that we talk about the delivery models for SDC and RSP. So some case managers have asked, how do we document our services? And the purpose of the documentation is really to prove that we're in good faith trying to provide the services and trying to reach out to the parents and what we have done to engage the parents. So that's the purpose of keeping the service logs. And also in case if the CDE ever requires us to provide documentation proof that we are doing our best to provide the services during dismissal, then at least we have that documentation. So that's the purpose of it. So I'm going to share with you guys the 2 service logs, what that looks like. As of now, keep in mind that there's not really any official guidelines as to what needs to be included in the service log. But if you go on to the next page, so this is the service log, very simple, that was created by Dana Spadoni. So I do want to thank Dana for that. So if you can see, this is what she has created, week 330, week of 4-6, and a list of students' name and communication. How does she communicate with the parents and how much time she spent on communication via Remind and calling the parents, how much time she spent on that, and doing the Zoom for each of the different subjects, ELA, PE, science and art, how much time she spent on doing that. And then how much time does she spend on emailing the parents? And then she just add up the total minutes. So that's the service log that Dana has created, which I thought is very easy to do. And it has all the important components. So that's one. And if you go on to the next one, this is the one created by Whittier Union, which I also like. So as you can see, there's the student name on the blue area and the name of the service provider. And for that, they have the date, the time, duration, contact person, the method of contact, and any type of service provided and comments. Okay, so this is just 2 types of service logs that can be used. And I know that Dana told me that she is still trying to modify that and she has simplified it a little bit. So what I can do is to have Dana email it to me. And once I have that, I can ask Jessica Sullivan to put it on the distance learning website so that when you guys log in, you will have a copy of it and then you can make a copy and then do your own logs. Okay, so once it's finalized, I will email that to you. So you guys don't worry about it for now, okay? And let's talk about related services, so what it's gonna look like. So for our speech and language services, so as of now, our SLPs are working really hard to create individualized learning packets that are targeting towards the students' IEP goals. So each students have different IEP goals, so that's why they have to be individualized. And they're also going to support parents and to consult with parents via email, class dojo, or whatever mode of communication that parents feel comfortable with, and checking in with parents, making sure that they know what needs to be done and if they need any support, help to complete the task with their students. Okay, and I know there's a question about, what about the service minutes? What is it going to look like for the distance learning? And I do want to go back and say that there is no official guidelines from CDE or anything in the ED code that will stipulate what that would look like. So what I do is that I collaborated with WOCSAT and also neighboring districts, and WOCSAT also collaborated with other local cell bus. So a lot of districts are recommended a minimum of 50% of what's been offered in their FAPE offer. So let's see, if you see a student for 30 minutes weekly, one time a week for a speech, so the minimum will be 15 minutes of services. So that can be, gathering the resources, emailing parents, contacting parents, all that counts towards the minutes that you're providing the support. And it is also important that you collaborate with the case managers so that the case managers are aware of what the kind of packets that are being sent home, because we want to be able to have a balance. We don't want to provide too much, yet we don't want to provide too little. And also a lot of speech and language goals can also be supported by the teacher. So that's why collaboration and coordination is very important. So SLPs, please make sure that you collaborate with the case managers. And I know that there are talks about, can we do a different kinds of service delivery model, because not all students can benefit from the learning packets. And I do agree that every student is going to be very different. This may work for some students, but not others. So we're going to continue to discuss that. But also, there's a lot of factors, a lot of moving parts that we have to consider. For example, if we were to do the telehealth, do a virtual therapy, we don't, not all the students have access to the device yet, and not all parents have internet access. So this is, what we do need to work out before we can offer that service, because it's very important that for services that we're offering, if we want to offer telehealth, then we have to provide the internet access and the device. Even if parents have it, all they need to do is just ask, say, I need that device, because you offer that. So before we offer that, we have to make sure they know, what do the parents have? What is the best mode of learning for the students? So it's going to be an ongoing process. And once we have more information, then we can come back and talk about, what other modes of delivery will speech and language be provided. Okay, so that's for speech and language. And next, we will talk about adaptive PE service. So as you guys know, we do contract with 2 APE teachers from Whittier City School District to provide APE service. We don't have a lot of kids who have APE. I would say probably 15 students, so it's not that much. So we have Josh Butler and Zoila Estrada. So what they have done is that they created a weekly schedule with links to various materials for activities that the parents can do with the students. So parents can just go online to get the weekly schedule and the links that to get the materials and the activities. And they also wanted to have a links for what they call the weekly parent checkout slip link, so that parents can report back to, how they did with the activities and how much time they spent on doing the activities. And they also wanted to have a line of communication with parents just for feedback and consultation. So that's what they're doing for Whittier City. When I spoke with them, I did let them know that, some of the challenges that we have for Los Nietos parents. For example, parents may not have internet access. They may not go online to get the materials. So I do want them to really think about it. And this is going to be an ongoing discussion that I will have with them. But as of now, what I ask Zoila and Josh to do is to share the links with the principals and the case managers, so that you guys have at least the link for that. And if parents do not have access to the services, or to the links to get the materials, then please print it out to them and put it in the, include it in the packets with them. And it's not a lot of students, probably 15, so it shouldn't be that hard to do. So if the principals can do that, that will be good. I also wanted to talk to them, about, getting the feedback from parents, because that's what they're asking for. What did you do with your students for the APE activity? So how did it go? And if parents don't have the internet access, they may not be able to go online to provide that feedback online. So this is an ongoing process. This will be the next step to figure out how we can do the feedback, provide the feedback to them. Okay, and once I have that information, I will definitely share that with you. But for now, please make sure that they have a copy of the weekly schedule and the materials if they don't have access to internet. Okay, so that's that. For occupational and physical therapy, so they want to do a variety of things with the students. It can be video interactions, therapy through telephone or worksheets and resource materials. And as you guys know, we contracted with Gallagher Pediatrics Therapy to provide the services. And so I had a conversation with Mary Kay Gallagher, the owner, many times. I'm trying to figure out, what can we do for speech, for OT and PT. So what we have agreed on is that starting this week, they're going to do what we call a parent intake. So they're going to gather all the pertinent information, explaining, what they can provide. And I did let them know that we have limited resources for parents when it comes to internet access, and we're just going to start distribution of the devices. So they're aware of that as well. So, during the intake, they will just basically engage the parents, what will work best for you? What's the daily routine will look like? And things like that. And then just to try to gauge parents as to, what kind of therapy model can best support the students. And also Yan Lam, who was assigned to us through Gallagher, she is unable to take on the assignments for personal reasons. So we're gonna have a new OT assigned. And I don't have the name of new OT yet, but once I do, I will get that out to you for sure. And what I did ask Mary Kay is to make sure that the OT gets in touch with the case managers, because as case managers, you guys need to be aware of, what's going on with the related services, and to really need to collaborate with the case managers. Just in the event that, they feel that, for instance, they want to have a phone call with parents to do the therapy via phone call, then they will need to schedule the day and time. And you definitely want to make sure that you guys are all in the loop, so there's not going to be any conflicts that, multiple service providers want to talk to the parents at the same time. So this is why I asked the new OT to make sure that that they are, you guys are on the loop with that. Okay, so that's OT. And then I'm trying to see if there's anything that I need to address based on the chat. So for the RSP, yes, we're still staying at 25% of the service minutes. And so that's not going to change. For the service minutes for speech is recommended at 50%. And as I have shared with you guys last week, the SAI is different than the related services. So it's not going to be the same across the board. Okay, and OT will have a different service minutes as well, and APE as well. So we cannot just have all the service minutes be the same, regardless of what kind of services that are. Okay, so and the next one will be, okay, so the next step, I have been in contact with our attorney with regards to, how do we move forward, given the fact that, the closure is probably going to remain for the end of the school year. So this is what we're going to do. What they're recommending, based on our attorney, is that we are going to generate an amendment IEP to address the SI and related services just for the duration of the dismissal. So they're giving us a template that I will share with you guys. And I just want to let you guys know that for this amendment, so they put in a lot of language for us where it can be done during a telephone, where we're not required to provide to get a parent signature, and also where we can excuse all the providers, even the admins. So it can just be a phone call between case managers and the parents. And you don't need to change anything else in the IEP except, fill out the notes page. You're not going to change the offer of FAPE because it still stays the same until school returns. Okay, and I think that that's what I want to address. So once I have the information, I will have give you guys the template and you can just fill it out. And with regards to reporting on goals, so here's what's the recommendation. If you're unable to meet with the students, if your student interaction is very minimal, then you can go back to, let's see, where did we stop? On March 13th, or is it March 11th? No, March 12th. So you should have some information on March 12th, where the students were at that time. Then you can report the progress based on that time period. Or if you happen to be available to have access to students and you're able to work with the students a lot, then you can definitely use that information to report on progress on goals. Okay, and with regards to the initials and the triennials, they're in the middle of the assessment. Let's see, the psychologist already started but has not yet completed. We are still getting directions from our attorneys as to how we should move forward with that. And that also includes 8th grade students who are in the process of being assessed but have not completed assessment. So we're going to get some directions from Whittier Union, hopefully at our next directors meeting. Okay, and let me see if there is anything. Yes, for the APE materials, it is just going to be the links where they can print out or access a weekly schedule and the type of activities that they can do. So it's not going to be any videos. So that's the APE. And also I want to mention is that especially for our most severe students, they get APE, they get speech, they get the SAI. So there are a lot of services that they're getting. So in the past, all parents need to do is to just send their kids to school, they get the services, and then they come home. But now that the model has changed, so parents will be involved with the services as well to some level. So it could be very overwhelming to the parents, and I don't want the parents to feel overwhelmed or just want to give up. Because for APE, I have to download the weekly schedules, I have to pick the physical activities that I can do with the kids, and I need to monitor them, and I need to report back to the teachers, and I may have to call the teachers to find out exactly what I need to do. So that could be very overwhelming. That's why I don't want to just roll everything all out at once and just create some sort of a chaos for the parents. So we're going to do it very slowly. Okay, so I think hopefully I addressed some of the important questions that I see through chats. Okay, and if you guys have any other questions, please email me or call me, and then I will get back to you if it's not been answered right now.
Okay, thank you, Raymond. Thank you, everybody, for the chat and the chat box, using that. Thank you for being on the call. I know we are just a little bit past, we're close to an hour. We just passed by a few minutes, but are there big questions for the entire group that people might want to share out at this time in the chat bar for us to respond to real quickly? Maybe take 5 minutes. If there's anything that the superintendent covered, I covered, just big picture items. Because if not, we definitely will have some smaller group chat Zooms upcoming. If you're typing while you get time to type, I want to say thank you to Han Bowie, Stephanie Peevers, and Melissa Hurtado, who have been doing online learning, professional learning this week. Yes, there were some great sessions that took place. I want to thank these ladies publicly for doing that. Thank you, Melissa. For those people who want to get a little break, Melissa's session starts at 1 p.m. So if you have not emailed her already, it's a great time to email her now and check out Advanced Google Classroom. Why do you want to go there? just to get more competent, more skilled, because come Monday, we're asking that people all teachers have a Google Classroom. Just so we're posting, maybe it's in Dojo, but Google Classroom is really our platform where we're going to really direct most of our students and parents so they can see what's going on as far as assignments, etc., as we look at moving more to online. We're always going to have paper, but we want to get as much as possible online as possible for our students. And as we said, the food distribution, Monday and Wednesday, Superintendent, I need you to weigh in on that, but I know because Monday's a holiday, but Wednesday will definitely be 9 to 10:30.
I believe we're still going to do it on Monday. So even though people are out, I think we're still set up to do it on Monday. I'll get clarification and push that out. But I think when I was talking earlier today, we talked about still doing it on Monday.
Okay. Thank you for that. So we have that going. So yes, check out the district learning website. We have a lot of information there. If anyone couldn't make introduction. Okay, let's see. Any other questions for the group? Okay, so I want to thank everybody for jumping on the call. Like I said, at one point we were up to, I think, 128 people on the call today. Our goal was to provide you an update so you're not in the dark, but also give you some time to get together, at least to hear what's going on directly and respond to you. As far as the slides being sent out, if I could just real quickly show you on the website. For those who didn't attend the call yesterday, distance learning, they'll take you in here, and then under staff, district updates. Staff district updates, and so last week's presentation is here. We are still working on getting the videos cleared up. You know, we're having some issues because it was an hour long. So we're almost got that reconciled. We'll probably have it taken care of this week so you can play back the videos, but the presentations will always be here for you to go back and get more information and details, okay? So thank you for that.
And again,
I think that was the last question.
And just to confirm, we are doing it on Monday. So it's still Monday, Wednesday, regardless if people are out, that's when the food is going to be distributed.
Okay, great. All right, so with that, Superintendent, you want to close this out and for the day?
Yeah, I do. Again, you can never say thank you enough. And I think especially now when people are stressed and people are working, teachers are working, assistants are wanting to work and help out as whatever way they can. Cafeteria staff, maintenance staff, we can't say thank you enough to people for their hard work because we're working virtually and we don't see each other face to face. You know, that's the time to do it. So the website that was created for the distance learning and for teachers and for parents and for kids is really exceptional. I think it's a good one-stop shopping. It is not an end product. They've been very open to please make it better. This is what we have right now to get you guys started. So there's a framework. So there is a good system to help put your mind together and put your heart at ease, but definitely we want to make it better and make it useful for you. As we get ready to move to Easter, again, there's lots to be thankful for. Again, a lot of our parents are getting laid off, will have gotten laid off. And again, I saw a lot of faces of people that I know who have jobs going through the food line, you know, and a little embarrassed going through there for their kids. But, you know, it is what it is. More people will be losing their jobs. So the more that you can, again, when you log in, be as hopeful and as positive as possible, it's appreciative. You could be the one bright spot in the kid's life, and maybe the parents are hearing and knowing and feeling good that for the time that they're talking with their students are talking with their teachers, they feel good, and it gives them a little peace. So it's not just the kids that you're working with, it's also their parents that are listening, that you're giving them a break because they don't know what specifically to do. So please, again, and this is the majority of you have, focus on the 80 to 90% of the things going right and the things that we are all surprised that, wow, we pulled this off really quickly and we're doing a good job. Give appreciation to those folks who are working hard on everyone's behalf. And again, as we go into Easter on Sunday, I just want to wish all of you health and wish your families the very, very best. Thank you for working in our district and helping our families. So on behalf of the school board, on behalf of all district administration and principals, to all Los Nietos staff members, happy Easter to you and your families, and we will see you next week.